Yaakov and Yisrael. We spoke about the level of Yaakov, meaning it comes down to the Akev and to the heel, and that has to do with Afar Yaakov. Afar Yaakov are things having to do with the earth. Yisrael is the level of the Roish, the head. That has to do also with Revia, the level of water. Water has to do with Torah. Torah is Kemayim Hayardim Mokim Voel. He didn't use that Maimer Chazal, like water, the standing of Mokim Voel, Mokim Namuk, but it's still water shows on a level that's higher than Seder Ishtalshlus. Not higher than Seder Ishtalshlus, but higher than dealing with the world. And we're speaking the whole time about the mixture of water and earth, and that's how Adam Adishon was formed, and that's a similarity to Yaakov. Yaakov is similar to Adam Adishon. That's like Nasa and Nishma together we spoke about. And the last thing we spoke about is the levels Lamaila in the spheres of Yisrael and Yaakov. And we spoke about one level of Yisrael and Yaakov is in the upper half or the lower half of Chagas. Yisrael would be Chesed Gvura Tiferes, Yaakov would be Netzach Chayd Yisoid. Then we said that there's something even higher, that Torah explains that that the level of Yisrael is the intellect of the Midas, and Yaakov is the way the intellect comes down, or the Yaakov, I'm sorry, is the intellect of the Midas that's revealed below, and Yisrael is the way the Midas are included in the essence of intellect, of Seichel Amayla. We also mentioned the topic, Benegia Yaakov, his idea about taking things through trickery, because since the Nachash made the whole Chet Eitz Hadas in a way and through trickery, so therefore that's how he has to take his things back, is also through a way of trickery. You have to take out the sparks and so on, and more. We spoke about that in the Maimer before that. Getting back to this idea of Yaakov and Yisrael, now he's going to speak about another way of delineating the different dargis of Yaakov versus Yisrael. So we're holding on page 18 from last week's Maimer, Khovh Beis, third paragraph on the page, line 20. Ma'asav Sham, over there in the Eira Torah, he adds, Sheyesh oid bechinas Yisrael sava shalamayla gam mebchinas Yisrael stam. There's also a level Yisrael, the Zayda, the old one, the ancient Yisrael. When we talk about old or Sava or Zayda, grandfather, it's talking about Yisrael in the utmost. Yisrael to the highest level. That's higher than the ordinary Yisrael. Ki Yisrael stam hu inyan amidus kishaklum baseichel. The ordinary level of Yisrael is the level of the Midas, the way they're part of the intellect. Al Yisrael Sava, but the level of the old Yisrael, that's the level of the intellect itself. So that's another delineation of Yisrael and Yaakov. And also over there in the Eira Torah he explains another way of looking at it, or the beauty of Zohar, the Tzemach Tzedek, I'm sorry, not of Kedoyra Torah. Sheyesh oid bechinas Yaakov levad chatzi parts vatachten the Zeir Anpin. There's another level of Yaakov, in addition to just saying the lower level of Zeir Anpin, meaning only the spheres of Netzach, Chayd, and Yisoid, but rather there's a level of Yaakov kifishu chutz lemechitza Zeir Anpin. The way Yaakov is outside of the enclosure of Zeir Anpin. In other words, beneath Zeir Anpin, beneath the Midas of Atzilus, kemevur b'Torah b'drush vayetze al pasuk, like it's explained in Torah and the Mamorim of Parshas Vayetze on the pasuk Vayetze Yaakov ber Shava vayelech Harana, that Yaakov leaves the well of the seven and he went into Haran. Be'er Sheva, it's the well of the seven. The seven is going on the seven midas. The well that like contains and has in it the seven midas, that's the level of Malchus Datzilus. He leaves and goes out of Malchus Datzilus and he goes into Charon. Charon is the level of Charon Apshemot Ba'olam. It shows on a lower level, it shows on going to Bia. When the Kudus Inyan, what the Alter Rebbe says over there in that Maimer and Torah, The point of it is that the level of Yaakov is the one that draws down into the worlds of Bri Yitzir Asiyah. That Biyah is outside of Zeir Ampin Datzilus. So that's one level of Yaakov going all the way out into Biyah. Atzilus Gufa, if we're going to talk about Atzilus itself, and we're going to contrast Yaakov versus Yisrael, Harei Zebchias Malchus Datzilus is the level of Malchus Datzilus, is even more about this idea of being distant from and far away from the essence of Atzilus, the level of Yisrael. So essentially, in the last page or so, he went through and enumerated many different levels in Olam Yisrael Yoinim and the spheres that we could differentiate between Yaakov and Yisrael. So the Rebbe in the next page Chav Gimel, is now going to bring it back to the Avodah that we already mentioned before, especially in the first Maimer, what these two levels in Avodah are, what Yaakov and Yisrael is in Avodah. Ois Gimel Vein in his Bar Leil was explained previously in the Maimer Mimona, Sheklolus Achiluk ben Yaakov Yisrael ba'Avodah, the general difference between Yaakov and Yisrael in Avodas Hashem, who Achiluk ben Mitzvahs Yaakov, the Torah Yisrael. It's the difference between Mitzvahs and Torah, because Yaakov corresponds to the level of Mitzvahs, and Yisrael corresponds to the level of Torah. Akev means the heel, it's the lower level, Mitzvahs deal with the physical, and Yisrael is the higher level. It deals with the intellectual level, the level that transcends the world. Just like fire is not Mekabel Tumah, so too the Torah is not Mekabel Tumah. Because Yaakov is the level of mitzvahs, that's why it says, Mi Mana Afar Yaakov. Who can count the dust, the earth of Yaakov? Like Rashi explains, it's referring to the mitzvahs that they were fulfilling with earth. And he enumerates some of the mitzvahs that we do with earth over there. The Rebbe in Sichos says what are the, and Rashi doesn't conclude all of the possibilities, and the Rebbe also enumerates more mitzvahs that are involving earth and dust and so on. So now the Rebbe is going to ask an interesting question. If Yaakov is the idea of mitzvahs in general, and earth symbolizes the idea of mitzvahs coming down here into the physical world, why are we specifically talking about the mitzvahs having to do with earth and not general mitzvahs? So he says, so the Rebbe asks the question in line 6, or he says, first of all, 5, the idea, but behind what we're talking about the mitzvahs they fulfill with earth. So he says in line 6, the Lechura, in the movement seemingly it's not understood. Lama maskin mitzvahs elu dafke. Why does he specifically mention these mitzvahs? Vavshu pash sakavona bezehi. Afilu mitzvahs shabafar. Though in the simple sense, the intention why he mentions earth mitzvahs is not he's excluding mitzvahs that we're doing with other matters. V'chol shkein mitzvahs shebechayv tzameach. How much more so there are mitzvahs that we do with living things and growing things, and how much more so and there's mitzvahs that we do with our brain and in our heart. It's still a difficult answer to say that he is saying offer, but he's really meaning mitzvahs that's being done with everything else. Eventually all the mitzvahs that are done with living creatures, they're much higher. For example, the mitzvah of karbanis. Karbanis, that's a very, very high mitzvah. So we do it with animals. Why doesn't he mention them at all? But the idea behind this is I lost my place, sorry. In truth,